What if the real crisis isn't men failing at marriage, but men realizing they don't actually need it anymore?
My dad said it seems like young men don't want to get married anymore, and I wanted to ask the internet why that might be. Like, I definitely have ideas of why it might be, but I'd rather hear from real people. It's also interesting that it coincides with that statistic that's been thrown around a lot lately, which is that 40% of women of marriageable age are going to be single by the year 2030. And what's interesting is it's by choice. Like, we're all choosing not to do this anymore. And I know that for a lot of women, myself included, there's a lot of hesitancy because we've been hurt and we're afraid. So I'm curious, what is it from the male perspective? Or do you think all of this is just like a consequence of the culture we live in now with like hookup culture and the internet? I don't know. Let me know what I should tell my dad, thanks.
For years, marriage was sold as the end goal for every man. Settle down, commit, build a family, that was the script. The assumption was simple. No matter what changed, men would eventually fall in line. But in 2026, that script is quietly falling apart.
I actually think this comment is so true, but hear me out. I feel like it's a breakup epidemic in the best way. Like, men are finally getting called out on how they treat women. Women are no longer so dependent on men. And the way that they were raised is for a woman to be dependent on them. Most of the time. And now that women are in their independent era, being boss babes with high-paying jobs, they don't need no duty-ass man just hanging around. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta bring something to the table that's more than just money. That's more than just security. You gotta bring something good to the table nowadays. And I think that's great, because that's forcing men to be better human beings. You know what I mean? Do you know what I mean?
Now you have a growing number of men choosing to stay unmarried. Not because they can't, but because they don't see the benefit anymore. They've looked at the effort, the expectations, the risks, and decided to step back. And that's where the confusion begins.
Men will only ever enter a relationship with a woman who benefits him, but the second you recommend women pick men who benefit them, it's a transactional relationship, as if it wasn't one to begin with. No man is entering a relationship at a loss. He is picking you because you better his life in a million ways. Men will not pick women who do not improve multiple aspects of their lives because that's how they were socialized. While women are taught to give men the benefit of the doubt. Women are taught to seek out traits that aren't actually there and try to foster them in him. Women are taught to try to raise this man to be the man she hopes he could be. Men don't do that. They don't date potential women. They date the woman you are today. So a man will only ever try to form a relationship with you if he sees benefits. And yet, if you try to seek out those very same benefits, that's no longer true love. Because for a woman to be truly in love with a man, she needs to overlook his shortcomings. But don't worry, he'll overlook yours too. You know, like your need to be seen as human. You'll have to overlook everything you need to nag him about, and he'll overlook the fact that you nag.
Because this wasn't supposed to happen. Men were expected to chase commitment, not question it. But instead of rushing in, they're slowing down or opting out completely. And that shift is making people uncomfortable.
And I have come up with men that will not be entertained in 2026. Let's get into it. First of all, we have weed smokers. Second, we have drug addicts. Cut. No car/license. If you don't have a car, rentals I don't mind, but you better have a car when you're around me, do you understand? No license. If you have a green license or a passport, you better have a pink license, otherwise you're not being around me. No job. Trapping and fraud does not include a job, okay? If HMRC doesn't know you exist, cut. Motionless. You better have some motion, have some ambition. You need to be getting to that money. I don't want no broke bum, do you understand? Party goers/party holidays. I don't want to date no man that is in the club every single weekend looking at people that are shaking their booties and having Don Julio and Casamigos for breakfast. And you better not be at every single party holiday, okay? Give it a rest. Not God-fearing. Fraud niggas, I will call the police. I will snitch on you because you're stealing from grandmas and I don't like it. Some people work hard for their money. You're just a robber and you're disgusting. Hoes/sleeps around. I don't want no man that's in every single coochie in London or Manchester or Birmingham. You're embarrassing me and you're disgusting. Lustful. Too many female friends. Alcoholics. Short men. No own place. You better have your own home. Because I have my own house, you better have your own house. You're not living with me. I don't adopt the homeless. This is not a homeless shelter. not healthy, uneducated, multiple baby mamas, Nigerian men. Nigerian men, you will not be entertained in 2026. Fatherless men, you better have a dad. Otherwise it's not going to work. And mummy issues. I don't want you to come here with mummy issues and you think that I'm your mum. But that's my list.
From the outside it looks strange. Men are stable, earning, improving themselves, yet not committing. No desperation, no urgency, no pressure to lock it in. Just calm, controlled decisions.
Why would any rational, disciplined man sign a contract where the other party can break it whenever they feel like and still legally take half of your life's work? That's not love, that's insanity. That's crazy. Because in the United States, 40 to 50% of all marriages end in divorce. So that's not rare, that's a coin flip. And here's the part that young men need to choke on. Nearly 70% of all divorces are initiated by women. Think about that. Most men aren't walking away. They're being removed from the deal. And when that happens, the government doesn't ask any questions. It doesn't investigate effort. It doesn't audit behavior. It just says, cool, split it. Half the house, half the equity, half your retirement. Sometimes your future earnings. Sometimes limiting access to your own kids. All because you signed a piece of paper that assumed that everybody in the relationship would behave forever. That's crazy. That's insane. Marriage is the only contract on planet Earth where the person who breaks it can be rewarded more than the person who upheld it. Quit a job, you don't get a paycheck. Breach a business deal, you get sued. You walk away from an investment, you eat the loss. But marriage, you can leave and still send the man the bill. Now, I already hear outrage forming in the minds of women. What if he stopped doing what he did in the beginning? What if he cheated? What if he emotionally checked out? Cool, but let's stop pretending this is a one-sided fairy tale. It takes two people to tango. Let me ask you a question. What did you do to make him stop wanting to you? When did sex turn into a weapon instead of connection? When did respect turn into constant nagging? When did you become entitled? When did he go from being your man to being behind the kids, the dogs, your phone, your stress, your crazy moods? When did you stop serving this relationship and just think you're just going to kick back and collect all the benefits? When he quietly became the provider, the protector, the fixer, the emotional punching bag, the walking ATM, while you brought nothing but expectations and complaints, and then you wonder why it failed. No man wakes up one day and says, I think I'm going to blow up my family today. They drift after being ignored. They disengage after being disrespected. They shut down after being treated like a utility instead of a man. And instead of self-reflection, the story's always the same. I wasn't happy. I deserved more. I outgrew him. Funny how personal accountability evaporates right when the system rewards an exit. And that's the real issue. The system doesn't care who stopped showing up. It doesn't care who withdrew the intimacy. It doesn't care who poisoned the household. It just redistributes assets and moves the on. That's not partnership. That's legal roulette. So read your contract, understand the incentives, and stop confusing tradition with intelligence. Because if it's a bad deal on paper, it's a bad deal in real life. And men are finally waking the up and asking the only question that matters. Why in the would I ever sign that?
And that calm is the problem. Because a man who is desperate can be influenced. But a man who is comfortable alone, he's hard to convince. He doesn't move unless it benefits him.
I just see women doing so much. I see men not doing so much. Let's get into this for a minute, okay? So I'm a therapist, I'm a human being, I'm divorced, etc. I'm in my 30s. So this is my context. Women don't get to drop balls. Ironic. They step up to the plate. Their kids are sick, they're going to take care of them. Their kids need something, they're going to do it. The unequal labor distribution and what so many people are talking about with fair play and whatever is because men just know that the women in their lives are going to step up. They don't even think to ask for help or communicate that they're not going to take on a task because they are so used to women just filling in for them. And if you're thinking about a car, They're gas and brakes. Women are almost always the gas. They're going to get the job done. They're going to provide for their family. They're going to step up to the plate. They're going to stay up late helping their kid with the school project. Then the next kid's throwing up. They're going to pick up the throw up. Then they're going to jump in the shower and be ready for an 8 a.m. meeting the next day. They're going to hustle. And I don't know if it's just me. I don't know if it's just my circle, but I just see men again and again and again being avoidantly attached, being dissociated, being depressed, and getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And it's like their only coping mechanism is to hit the brakes. They just shrink under pressure. And it's so hard for me to make sense of. And I just think that it's a woman's world in many ways, where women are just doing everything, right? Which is a part of the problem. It's a part of burnout. It's a part of why marriages are falling apart. It's a part of the mental labor. But I do think it's because women have periods. I know this is kind of nuts, but women are so used to being in pain and discomfort and being emotionally in pain, and who freaking cares? Put on a pad, put on a tampon, get to school, get to work, get on the soccer field, do ballet for goodness sakes. Be in gymnastics when you're on your period. You're on your period? Who cares? You better work, bitch. Women are so used to, from such a young age, managing discomfort, being like, oh my gosh, I'm giving a school presentation. Am I bleeding? Oh my gosh, I am bleeding. What can I do? Okay, I need to grab a jacket to cover myself up. Oh, can my mom bring over shorts for me so I can change? And men, I think they're just not used to regular pain, to regular discomfort, to managing multiple things at once. And men will never understand. I'm getting emotional. They will never understand how difficult it is to be a woman. They will never understand how oppressed we are, how sexist even the most feminist relationships and societies are, even if you're living in the most liberal place and your male spouse is so liberal. Like, we are dealing as a collective world with so much patriarchy and so much sexism. We're in pain. We're also expected to provide financially, and we're doing everything at home. Men just cannot even begin to comprehend how much we as women stereotypically push past pain, discomfort, illness, sickness, every single effing thing. And I think that explains why women are opting out of marriage, why women are getting divorces, why women are being celibate, why women are trying to become lesbians and see if they swing both ways, because they're so done with men. And I just think that men have not had to push themselves. I don't know if it's because women are working and women are girl bosses and this, fourth wave feminism is coming to place and women are outperforming men. They're not getting paid as much, but they're typically are outperforming men in many different measures. Work, education, experience. They're still being treated poorly, being systematically oppressed. Oh my goodness. But I just don't think that men have to hustle like they used to. I don't know how to describe it, but I feel like this is also related to tradwife culture, because women are so tired of doing both. So you know what? You go to work and I'll stay in the kitchen because I'm already in the kitchen. I'm already doing the breastfeeding. I'm already doing everything. So I might as well not go to work because I'm already doing 2 jobs. And I think women are so burned out. And I think that's why women are quitting their jobs and they're romanticizing wearing this like cute little milkmaid dress and vacuuming with their pearls on, because if they're not doing that, they're at work. And then if they're at work, they're not doing stuff at home. And I feel for women so much. And women don't have the option. I have a headache. I don't feel like it. Oh, I didn't hear the baby crying. We get out of bed. We listen for the baby monitor. We push past discomfort. You better work, bitch. I just see so many women literally doing the most. I see women doing so much. And even men that identify as feminists, even men who are like, I'm liberal, I'm progressive, I've deconstructed patriarchy, are just like, what was that? Oh, the kid needs me. I'd love to know your thoughts. I'm a little triggered. I genuinely am a little hot and bothered right now. I need to do some self-care. I need to regulate myself because
a lot of men have also become more calculated. They're no longer making emotional decisions about long-term commitment. They're thinking in terms of risk, stability, and long-term outcomes. And for many, marriage doesn't pass that test anymore.
Do guys that are single never want to get married again? This comment right here, marriage is for suckers. That would lead me to believe, in the amount of comments I get like this on my videos, would lead me to believe men think that women are literally out there preying on men, thinking, who can I marry so I can divorce him and take all his money and run? And obviously there's been some men that have been burned over the years to make you think like this. Or maybe this comment is around you get married and all of a sudden your partner no longer puts out. I think it's one or the other, but I'm so curious, is that common? Guys are getting married and all of a sudden their partner no longer wants to be intimate? Or is it guys are just getting screwed over every time they get married and get divorced? I truly don't think we should be thinking, hey, let's never get married again, because these ladies out here are plotting to steal all of our money. If you can't tell if someone has a genuine connection with you, I think that's a you problem. There's not that many people that can put on a facade for so long to act like they're into you to scam you out of your money. And those are sociopaths or narcissists. I just don't truly believe that. But I want to hear your guys' opinions, because I feel like I see so many of these type of comments. I just want to know.
So instead of chasing it, they're building alternatives. Financial independence, personal freedom, structured routines. A life where everything is predictable and under control. No unnecessary chaos, no forced compromises.
So, I know this gonna sound crazy, but really listen to what I'm saying. This is free game for the men. A lot of y'all men be looking at these boss chicks like, oh, yeah, these boss chicks, yup, they got all that money and they're alone. They don't have nobody to share with. This is real talk. If you get yourself established on your own, you become successful, you pick yourself up all the times that you wanted to give up, you didn't have nobody in your corner, you built yourself up, you bought yourself a house, you stacked up your money, you did everything on your own without the support or the help of a woman, nobody poured into you, then you need to, if you do decide to get married, you need to either not get married at all, or if you do decide to get married, you need to get a prenup. Because I don't understand why y'all dudes be becoming successful so y'all can deal with broke women. Like, now, and I feel like if she's never invested nothing into your relationship, she don't have nothing to lose. That means that when things going rough, or let's say you get into a car accident and you can't provide, or y'all just not getting along and she has not invested nothing into your relationship, now she about to skeet off and leave with half of a bunch of stuff that she ain't worked for. Now you about to be paying her alimony and child support and all of this extra stuff because you picked this woman based off of looks. Like, y'all need to start taking advice from these boss chicks. These boss chicks not about to share their wealth. If she come into that relationship broke, she need to leave broke. Y'all need to stop letting these women come up off y'all. Like, boss chicks ain't doing it. You hear women, like, if you built yourself up on your own, you literally don't need nobody. So you don't need to share your wealth with nobody. So just keep that in mind. Have a good day. Bye. Get that prenup.
And once a man experiences that level of control, it changes his mindset. Marriage stops looking like a goal and starts looking like a trade-off. Time, money, energy, all on the table. And he's asking, is it worth it? For many, the answer is no.
No degree, no money, no goals, no prospects. And you think that a wealthy, well-accomplished man is gonna want to marry you? Are you actually insane? Have you seen the type of women that these men marry? These women are Ivy League educated. Some of them are well-known philanthropists, attorneys, surgeons, or they even own big-time companies themselves. Being beautiful simply is not enough. Because if you're between the ages of 18 and 25, you best be sure the first question they're gonna ask you is, what school do you go to? If it's not a Ivy League school or an extremely wealthy liberal arts school, you're done. As a matter of fact, if a wealthy man had the choice to choose between a extremely educated, beautiful, sexy woman versus a girl who has no education, is just beautiful, and just has no goals in general, who do you think he's gonna choose? A lot of y'all seem to forget there are a lot of beautiful, educated women out there, successful women. They're gonna choose that girl every single time. And even if he wanted to marry you, y'all need to understand that these families simply would not let that happen if you didn't come from another wealthy family. They plan who their children are gonna marry from the day that they're born to ensure that their generational wealth continues. And they're not gonna risk that just because of love. Like, most wealthy people marry to continue their wealth and marry for like business deals and all that.
Not loudly, not aggressively, just quietly. They're not arguing against marriage. They're simply choosing not to participate.
And it totally makes sense why men look at you crazy when they think that you're single. And they're like, why are you single? What you mean you're single? Why you ain't got no man? Why you can't keep no man? They have that ideology because to them, we are objects. We're toys. They trade us like cars. Oh, you got a decent looking car. You got a Maserati. You got a Bentley. They look at us as symbols, things to attain, to show off to the next person. So not having anything in their opinion is bad. Whereas women, we realize we're dating our apex predator. We realize dating the wrong man can literally end our life. We understand that dating the wrong man can derail our path, can make things harder for us. We don't look at men the way that they look at us. So when we say we're single, it's actually a flex. Because baby, I could get a man right now. I could walk outside of my car right now and have a man. It's not hard to get a man. It's harder to find a man of substance, of quality, to find a man of character, to find a man who has integrity, to find a man who's honest, who's true, who is consistent, who is caring, who is kind, who is considerate. Now that's not easy, all right? So when a woman says she's single, she's saying, I'm protecting my peace. She's saying, I'm protecting my future lineage because I'm not reproducing with a bum. She's saying, I would rather be solo dolo, relaxing, taking care of myself, investing in myself, learning myself, loving myself, versus being surrounded by a man who doesn't see who I truly am. Because a lot of times when a woman is in a relationship, she's not in the right relationship. She just doesn't want to be alone. Whereas when a lot of times when a man is in a relationship, either he's madly in love or he too just wants to have somebody to make his life easier. Someone to cook, someone to clean, someone to when he wants to. So I hope this brings a little clarity to the men out here who keep asking, why are you single? You have all this going on. To women out here, baby, when a woman is single, she understands her worth.
Meanwhile, expectations haven't caught up. People still assume men will eventually commit. But that assumption is starting to break in real time, because behavior is no longer matching the old script.
I remember growing up and marriage was framed as like the end of male freedom, right? Like wives were the ball and chain. That was the joke, right? Like pictures like this one dominated Pinterest. The joke was always that once a man got married, his life was over. And when you were dating as a woman, you did not bring up marriage and kids too soon, right? Like that's how you scared him off. Women were told to play it cool. Let him decide when he's ready. But now I feel like every other man online is urgently searching for a woman who wants to be a wife and wants to be a mom, like immediately, right? Like they're saying, where are the traditional women? Why don't women want families anymore? Like there's this very loud panic. And so I'm going to say it, like, I think that this switch is interesting, first of all, because historically, like women had to get married to survive, right? Like you needed a husband for financial security. You needed children to secure that position. That system, it allowed men to be nonchalant, right? Like they could play hard to get because society guaranteed them that they were going to win regardless. But now women can earn, right? Like, they can buy property, they can leave relationships that they're not happy in. Fun little fact, single women actually buy more homes than single men in the United States. About 19 to 20% of all home buyers are single women compared to about 10 to 11% for single men. Women are literally opting into just living their lives alone, moving on with their lives by themselves. And meanwhile, like incomes feel lower than ever and the cost of living is at an all-time high. And there are men saying that they want these traditional dynamics, like as the man who's the head of the household and the provider. But in reality, like most couples are splitting everything 50-50. So women, it seems that have looked at the math and decided if I'm going to pay half anyways, like I might as well just live alone. Because let's be real, the male loneliness epidemic is a direct response to men's treatment of women for generations. Like I said earlier, like women had fewer options. They were expected to stay no matter how they were treated. And women don't have to do that anymore. And instead of asking why more women are opting out, some men react with resentment and like calls to return to like traditional roles. And they support administrations and legislations that are actively trying to restrict women's rights to force them into positions
situations where they have to rely on men again, instead of asking why women don't want to be in traditional relationships. When women stopped needing marriage, marriage started needing women, right? I would even go as far as to say, like, men's newfound desire to be married and have a family is a direct result of women not wanting that anymore. They now want it because women do not want it.
So now comes the confusion. Why aren't men proposing? Why are they so comfortable staying single? Why do they seem unaffected by it? Because they've realized something simple.
I keep seeing this meme all over the internet, especially this live that I saw, where it says, imagine how much propaganda it took to convince women that this was oppressive. I keep seeing it, but let me address it. This is an example of the nirvana fallacy. A lot of conservative men or traditionalist men tend to appeal to it. It's essentially idealizing a very uncommon and highly selective version of modern domestic roles. It ignores the average reality that most women live. A lot of men try to paint this image of domesticity that is a white picket fence house in the suburbs with a wife who's well supported by her husband in every facet and in a very financially stable family. But statistically, we know this is typically not the case. The reason why this is so romanticized is for a few reasons. First of all, I made a video on this, but it's about fetishization. Second of all, it's because women who actually do live these kinds of lives are the ones that have visibility. And so women who have visibility tend to be women who are in higher classes, and so they do actually experience this comfort. It's not the reality of most women. Women in lower tax brackets who have these roles tend to suffer more. You're highlighting the experience of like 10% of women, if I'm being generous, like Nara Smith. The common question or argument that I see them make is, why are women unhappier if they're free? Essentially attempting to blame increased freedoms for the decrease in quality of life. A question I would pose in response to this, just to help you see how ridiculous it is why are Black Americans unhappier if they're free? Were they better being slaves? No! On an intuitive basis, human beings want more freedoms, not less. The reason why more marginalized groups of people who were oppressed and subjugated are unhappier being free is not because freedom in itself causes unhappiness, but because it comes with the harsh reality of your position in this world. Systemic inequalities that branch beyond just legislation. On top of that, the increased trade-offs that come with freedom. And keep in mind here, just for the sake of the argument, I'm granting here that women were happy at that point, which is arguably untrue. But anyways, it's just illogical to point the finger at feminism. There's not enough deductive or inductive proofs to substantiate that. You can't prove a one-to-one or direct relationship between the two variables. The most you could prove is maybe a correlation, but even that is weak due to the amount of extensive confounding variables, which is exactly why sociologists and psychologists would not just directly point at feminism for being the cause of unhappiness. Anyways, people are unhappier collectively. It's not just women suffering, men are as well. So considering that both ends of the gender spectrum are experiencing this, it's unlikely that increased freedoms are solely responsible. So what is it? So first of all, it's going to be those increased trade-offs, learning to navigate a society that systemically was never built for you. Women being forced into binaries or mutually exclusive roles, so like you're forced to either be a mother or choose your career. Companies don't like mothers, statistically we know this, and men are not socially expected to compensate for that extra help needed at home. So women have to bear this responsibility, and they also need to learn how to navigate it. Also, men are probably unhappier because I really believe that the male ego was historically built upon power. Making others dependent on them is their way of giving their own life meaning and purpose. So with increased freedoms, women became less dependent on men, thus making men feel like they lost that power, and by extension they lost their purpose. They are also not sure how to navigate it. And the second reason is obviously just going to be the economy and the shit parts of capitalism. Individualism, like pursuing your own career or education or whatever it may be, is important, but so is community and belonging. These things are psychologically essential to our well-being, and there needs to be a balance, and capitalism has not allowed for this, at least in America. The West already lacks community because of this, and then on top of that, social media has made people more isolated, especially because it's propagating more radicalized forms of content that causes gender divides and things of that nature. And then on top of that, people are working paycheck to paycheck. They're struggling to afford basic necessities. If you're working 40 to 80-hour work weeks, you don't even have time for friends, let alone would you have time to build a relationship or build a family. Then the third point, and before I say it, I'll admit that some forms of feminist content have divulged into radicalism. They just spread red pill-like content that is anti-men. For example, all men cheat, all men lie, all men are violent, and it doesn't help. It leads to forms of nihilism. Nobody likes each other. Nobody wants to be with each other. Anyways, just to wrap this up, being a housewife is not what people should pursue. It shouldn't be your only goal in life. You should pursue bigger things. If it comes to the point where you need to stay at home, stay at home. But being a housewife is not the pinnacle of happiness. It's not the pinnacle of achievement. And if you think this as a man, then I don't know what to say to you. I don't think you want the best for your wife, and I especially don't think you want the best for yourself. And it is oppression, and I'm sorry that the only forms of women that you pay attention to are the ones with visibility. I'm sorry that you don't listen to your mothers or generations of mothers that have said that they've suffered.
They don't need marriage to feel complete. And once that realization sets in, the pressure disappears, along with the urgency to commit. And that's the raw truth. It's not that men can't get married. It's that more of them are deciding they'd rather not.
Men stopped playing by the rules, and now everyone's freaking out. Let's break down why silence has become the loudest move.